what she did with that was she came up with a new concept called the emotional flu. And the emotional flu is when you're having a bad body budgeting day and you're just like, you didn't get enough sleep maybe, or, there's some stress at work or at school that you can't get rid of otherwise. My husband likes to say, well, other people's opinions of you are just electrical activity in somebody's head, which I love. We often use affect as a indicator of how the world is. If I feel bad, something must be wrong in the world. But you have to resist that sometimes, because sometimes there's nothing wrong in the world. It's just that you didn't get enough sleep.
As you're saying all this, one can immediately understand why alcohol and drugs of abuse are both so compelling, right? You're not feeling well.
Yeah.
So you're feeling tired, take a stimulant that releases dopamine and epinephrine, but you're taxing your already taxed body budget in a way that then puts you in a more depleted state later. Or alcohol, you feel lousy. Alcohol never did this for me, but friends I have who are recovered alcoholics will tell me that it was like a magic elixir. It made them feel right. That's their language.
Yes.
But then, of course, there's a price to pay later, because then it drops your baseline below where it was initially.
Absolutely. 110%. Telling itself the category it's making is a plan for action. Well, what do you do in anxiety and fear? You freeze or you run away. What do you do in uncertainty? You forage for information. This is not just, psychological mumbo jumbo. You can train yourself to experience your heart pounding in your chest as determination. When my daughter, this is all in How Emotions Are Made, these examples, but they're true. I mean, my daughter, this is this book I wrote a couple of years ago. When my daughter was 12 years old, she was testing for a black belt in karate. She was 5 feet tall, not even, and she was testing against these massively large adolescent boys, who were a foot taller than her. And her sensei, who was a 10th degree black belt, didn't say to her, don't be afraid. He said, get your butterflies flying in formation. And I was enraptured. I was like, oh my God, this guy is totally brilliant. That is the best, meaning to give to arousal that changes the meaning of it. What you do when you create an emotion is you're giving meaning to those affective feelings. And you have more control than you might think in how you do that. You can do it by changing the physical state that gives rise to those feelings, but you can also change it by learning more how to make more categories and how to make them more fluidly, so that you do something different. And it's not that things will necessarily feel any more unpleasant or any less or any more pleasant. It's that the feeling becomes a source of wisdom. It's a cue to do something different.
Here, what you've provided and you're continuing to provide is knowledge that people can use that real estate within their brain. I'm deliberately not giving it a name because it's distributed real estate that allows them to take an unpleasant feeling and work with it. That it has more dimensionality than we probably realize.
You can always give it more dimensionality by just shifting your attention. But what you're doing essentially is you're having your brain is applying attention to basically focus more on those details. And then you transfer the details on to the 2-dimensional canvas. And what you get is a pretty decent looking 3-dimensional cup on a 2-dimensional canvas.
Amazing.
My point is that you can do that with your own sensory condition of your body. In emotion, you can deliberately focus on what your heart is doing, or you can deliberately focus on your breathing, or you could deliberately focus on what your muscles are, how tense they feel. You can change the dimensionality of your experience by the shifting of your attention.